Welcome back, everybody, to Total Nonstop Impact Talk for Impact fans, right here on the YouTube and the Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts worldwide. Going solo tonight. Wasn't working with everybody's schedules, so wanted to make sure to at least still be here for everybody. Okay, just getting everything sorted out here. Good to see a whole bunch of you in the chat. Obviously, Genesis ended not that long ago. Now here to discuss everything that went down. Let us know in the chat your early impressions on the show, what you thought, your takeaways, and where you see everything going from here. But I know there's a lot to discuss, a lot of great matches. We got a new world champion, obviously, Joe Hendry. Congrats. Long coming. Not a cowboy hat. Everyone's going after the hat already. But I did say, hey, in Texas, this was going to be. It's funny talking to another guy that goes to a lot of shows, Greg, and he's like, I've never seen you wear a hat. I'm like, I don't know if I ever wear a hat at a TNA show. Maybe a Bound for Glory, like kind of like one of the ski caps years ago, just to kind of have the logo show off. But that probably was not even for that long. But yeah, what a show. We'll get into it. Obviously, we know all the different news that's out there. Actually, my phone had died a little bit right before the show, so I really wasn't able to pay attention to anything other than the show, which is good, because I was, before the show, watching my Philadelphia Eagles advance to the NFC Championship game, so sucked up a lot of my phone power doing that, so did not have a lot afterwards. But obviously, one piece of news that I know was discussed here widely was the new ring announcer. We were wondering who the new ring announcer be. I know there was obviously some names with TNA connections we were talking about, internal, like Christy Hemme, Kevin Martin, maybe the return of David Penzer, which he pretty much said that ain't happening on this past Thursday show. But we did get a return. TNA didn't do a ton of ring announcing the first time around, and that is one Mackenzie Mitchell. So great to see Mackenzie back. Thought she did a great job tonight. Glad to see someone from the family coming home, for sure. I know another thing that's making the rounds out there, and I just honestly heard about it only a few minutes before I went live, and that is the PCO situation at GCW tonight, where he was destroying the digital media title after his match and started cutting an anti-TNA promo. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I'm intrigued. One thing we know that didn't get tonight is any answer on the 23 angle. So maybe there's something going on, and maybe it's a storyline with that, but I won't get too into that. Like I said, since I'm just really getting a little bit of that now, we'll focus obviously mainly on Genesis. I don't think anyone else is going to be joining. I kind of put it up to our Discord to maybe wait a day or two and see who else might join. But I know everybody wants to talk about the show while it's fresh. So we're definitely doing that tonight. Once again, thanks for the crew here in the chat. Great to see everyone. And we'll pretty much get started. Anybody that wants to, like I said, throw in the comments, thoughts on the show tonight, any opinions you have on anything. Make sure if you're liking everything, hopefully, who knows, maybe you're new tonight joining us, hit the like button, follow, ring the bell for notifications for whenever we go live. So first things first, what a show tonight. What a show tonight. Obviously, a lot going on. We got a new world champion, and we'll get into the main event later. But we'll start obviously with the countdown show. And that obviously had Busted Open as a pretty much host for the countdown show, which is kind of a new direction they did with this. So you had obviously, well, you had Mean Gia Miller hosting with David LaGreca, along with Tommy Dreamer and Mark Henry. So, like, I think technically Mark Henry's first TNA involvement, really. So cool to see. So a different approach here, but we wound up having like a lot of, they were giving their picks on the card, and then we see them later for the main event. But there were 2 matches on the countdown show. And our first match, pull it back up here, was because I want to get it right, because we're talking about NXT's presence since this partnership. But well, first we had the appearance of the return of Ariana Grace, who is the liaison, as we've seen before with NXT. So she made her presence. And then we saw Ashante Adonis from NXT come on out. And he goes into the ring and he issues an open challenge for anyone in the locker room. And who gets to answer it? Jake something. And he gets a great ovation from the crowd. Good to see Jake. So Jake now, because obviously with Hammerstone working more of a heel and things like that, but now that he's solo and coming out in this angle, definitely more of a face presence for Jake, and the crowd was definitely behind him. And he worked. I'm not honestly not as familiar with Ashante Adonis, but he looked fine. But Jake was pretty much in control of this one, get the win. So a nice win for Jake, who obviously was not on the card originally. So just taking a look in the chat here before we continue. I know there could be stuff going on Raw tomorrow. I'm not planning on going to Raw tomorrow. I never make a guarantee, but I don't plan on doing that. But definitely, hey, there could be a TNA presence because a lot of people obviously are in town. I know a lot of them are leaving, but definitely could look at that possibility of having some more people show up, no doubt. Then people talking about the PCO deal. Other guys in the clip made it feel like a work. I agree from what I saw. Like, I know I was hearing rumbling, people saying it was a shoot, but then maybe even PW Insider was acting like it was a shoot. But then when I saw what aired, it looked not like a shoot to me. It looked like a work for sure. But once again, I didn't go too far into it. But they kind of put it too much out there for it. So it's interesting. Like, maybe there is an angle going on there. So, but once again, we'll see. I'm sure more will fall out in the next day or two for that. So after some more kind of predictions and things, we get our second match, and we saw this building on TV on Impact the past couple weeks, and this is Frankie Kazarian facing Leon Slater. Good back and forth match here. It looked like Leon Slater had a won when he went out to the outside. Kind of looked like he had got an advantage. Then he went to the top to look to kind of finish him off. But then Frankie gets the knees up and pretty much turns that right into a pin and gets the 1, 2, 3. So the king, self-proclaimed, Frankie gets the win here. And he'll continue on. But Leon looked good in this match. Did not look bad for sure. So we'll see, because I know a lot of us here are high on Leon Slater, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot of good things from him moving forward. But Frankie Kazarian, he's still, once again, that's another thing. He's had the gauntlet now for a while. We'll see how long he has it, when he cashes it in, because he almost cashes it in a lot. But once again, he's got it now. So once again, if you're joining us, hopping in, we're just starting to kind of go over the show. We're going over the countdown show. This was the second match and final match. So we'll be getting into that. And once again, hey, I didn't hear a commentary. If there was any kind of vignettes or segments that transitioned over anything, definitely feel free to point that out in the chat. I'm sure I'll get some more information as the night goes on. And yeah, kind of general comments. See Justin, good friend of the show here. Tonight's at the bar high for the year for sure, no doubt. And then that's the other thing. Yeah, talking about the 23 with Bonus Baby. Maybe 23 has been 23 all along, and he attacked Sami Callihan on the Thursday live show. I definitely think they're leaving some content here that we've been waiting for, because I know we've been saying it for a while. What's happening? Obviously, the JBL situation. We'll talk about what happened with JBL tonight, and also the 23 situation. Leaves a lot for the live show. But once again, we got to get through Texas and have these questions answered. No doubt, I can't let them gestate too long. You definitely want to get some answers. So hopefully we'll get those. But let's get to the main show, Genesis. So the return of Genesis, really. And obviously during those matches we talked about news already that the return of Mackenzie Mitchell. But then we get the announcers and all that. But we're starting off X-Division title match, which always makes a lot of sense. Always a fan of starting the show with X-Division. And this is the debut of, because we did see Moose show up on the countdown show briefly with JDC, because JDC was going to commentary, and he teased the new title belt, which, once again, if you know, you know, all the dirt sheets ran with bad fan reporting that the X Division was no more, but it was really just Moose cutting a promo that he was going to create a new X Division title belt, and he reveals this new X Division title belt. I thought it looked very good, like the, what was it, like a brownish leather strap, but definitely a nice looking belt for the champ Moose. So obviously Chris Bay on the minds of everybody. Ace Austin getting this title shot. You can tell he has a lot of the thoughts of Chris Bay on there, going after it and the build up here. So this was always going to be a tough one for me because obviously I'm a big Ace Austin fan, and then obviously Moose I support. I've been supporting for years, but obviously the hat had to go. Obviously in Texas, wear the hat, and then got to support my guy Moose. But this one was going both ways. A lot of outside the ring. Obviously, you had Lish involved, you had JDC involved, shenanigans galore. But Ace was definitely holding his own. Obviously, the first time Moose hits his finisher, you think, okay, well, was that going to be it? But it's not. Goes back and forth. He winds up hitting him then in the back, and then hits him again with the finisher to get the win. So a hard-fought victory for the X-Division champion. But then, obviously, you have post-match shenanigans. They're going after Ace for no good reason. Why? Because you get Eddie and you get Myers out there causing all kinds of trouble. But then you get EY and Maclin, their opponents for tonight, come even the odds, get the melee dealt with. And then obviously we get another match. So good transition here into our next match. And this one, once again, a good back and forth between them. But we've been seeing on TV, and kudos, like on even kind of matching gear tonight, EY and Maclin, more of a team. And they get a hard fought victory here over Myers and Eddie. And that's obviously, hey, not long ago, those guys were tag team champions. So it definitely feels like the EY Maclin team is here to stay. And I think they're doing a good job. So hopefully keep that going. And as we go, let us know your thoughts on any of the matches. If you were surprised, do you think anything else should it have been different results, and why do you think so? Oh, and just kind of the question here from Jesus or Jesus. What happened to TNA Hard to Kill? And this is the replacement show because TNA Hard to Kill had become the January show over the last couple of years, but it was really meant that's pretty much Okay, TNA, like, it's just showing we are hard to kill as a company. I don't think it was ever meant to be a long-term yearly show, but for those couple of years, it made a lot of sense. But I think Genesis, which has a good history in TNA, and bringing it back to start the year, especially with the recent involvement with WWE and NXT, and really making that a point, it seemed like the obvious thing to go back to, which was, I think, the right call for sure. All right. So then we get the Knockouts World Tag Team title match with the champions Spitfire, Dani Luna, and Jody Thread defending against the House of Elegance, Ash and Heather by Elegance, with friend of the show, the personal concierge, uh, George Iceman. Now, this is my probably surprise of the night, where I thought we were getting new champions tonight. I thought Elegance was going to rule the day and rule the night in the Dallas area, but not the case. Not the case. Spitfire, man, they got more going, and Mayor with a observation here. Ash and Heather by Elegance will make good Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And that's the thing, they came out in the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfits. And obviously you're assuming like a heel team, but I think that's going to get you some cheers. But then the Iceman definitely made sure to do his job to get the fans back against them. But I really did think they were going to win. But Spitfire, they've been resilient champions here. Uh, Going what 5+ months now. So kudos to them. They're looking like a. I don't know who's going to beat them right now, because obviously we've had some challengers come and go. It still might be Elegance. Like maybe they'll get a rematch in the maybe even this Thursday. We'll see. Because beyond that, I'm not sure who would be the next team to kind of take them out. Maybe Lish and Tasha, if they're kind of going more as a team going forward, maybe something there. But yeah, that's a good win by them. And like I said, that's probably going to be my surprise of the night. So, but we'll continue on with the show. Then we get a little bit talking about the match from earlier tonight on the countdown, and Frankie is he actually puts over Leon Slater, which is very nice to see. And then he's keeping an eye on the world title match. Obviously, he has his gauntlet right there, which he's teased before. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Then we are like now match placement starts getting interesting on the show, because I probably wasn't expecting this next match, but in the end, I think it probably was the right spot. We get the knockouts match, Jordynne Grace versus Tessa Blanchard. Now, I know it's been a very divisive subject. You got Jordynne Grace, who's obviously been the standard bearer in the knockouts division for the last couple of years. And then the returning Tessa Blanchard, who obviously very controversial figure during her last run, where she was actually world champion. And then obviously fired and gone for a couple of years, made some appearances at obviously at Women of Wrestling, but mainly in Mexico, but not really a lot in the States. I know Alisha and I talked about seeing her at like XPW, but really not a ton of appearances the last couple of years. But obviously made that return. Obviously has been feuding with Jordynne, and we know there's some history there. So good storyline going into it. But I'll tell you, you get the introduction, you get the new music for Tessa coming out, and the fans, they I'll tell you, the heat, and a lot of it is like it's like the fans were after her tonight. Oh no, I was not doing any of those chants. But they were obviously giving her the booze. They were giving all to her, and obviously they got even more specific at time, like during one time during the match, which once again she became world champion way after any of that. So I would not put too much into that, but I'll tell you that type of heat that she was getting in that match, that's something you can't get a lot of the time. Like it's so she's embracing it. I think the company's embracing it, and that is the right call because it's natural and it's heat that almost like did anyone else get more heat tonight than Tessa Blanchard? So it was up there. It was up there. It probably was the biggest heat anyone got tonight. So I think it was the right way to play it. I thought they had a really good match. Obviously, these two are two of the best. I still say two of the best in the world, and I think they gave a hell of a match here. And obviously, Tessa comes out here as the victor. And then we see Jordynne leaving. Once again, not sure exactly what was shown on TV, but pretty much when she got to the top of the ramp, she kind of did her wave goodbye. And it feels like that is like a closed chapter now, Jordynne. Once again, a great run, Jordynne. Like, can't say anything but positive things about Jordynne Grace and the Knockouts division while she was here. I think obviously she accomplished nearly everything. The only thing I personally wanted her to see was her get that X-Division title run. But once again, I don't know if and when that will ever happen. But if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be her. But it's going to be interesting where the Knockouts division goes. Obviously, we'll talk about the championship match later, but I think Tessa is going to be a big part of it because Jordynne, we were always talking about it. Whenever Jordynne leaves, it's going to be a huge void. But now we know with the NXT relationship and how many women they have in like the Performance Center and NXT, I think that's going to be a big contribution going forward. So it feels with the return of Tessa, the NXT partnership, that there's going to be plenty of knockouts to have going forward in the division, and obviously with this partnership. So I feel much stronger about the division than we all probably did maybe 6 months ago, thinking about the future. So, but once again, kudos to Jordynne and congrats to Tessa on this big first win. Like, obviously has not been really in action much lately. So I only see improvement going forward. But once again, it's a hot topic. Let us know what you think, because I know obviously some people are, you can be positive, you can be negative. But I think one thing is you're not going to be straddling the fence on this subject. You're going to be one way or the other. Now, I think, and we'll start talking about it, like match of the night. What is your match of the night so far? I think we just had maybe I think there's been some good matches, but that I think was a contender for a match of the night. But now this might be this might be the match of the night too, because the I Quit match, Josh Alexander, Mike Santana. This one was a great match. Obviously, Santana's been building. We're all talking about him. Maybe a world title contender this year, 2025. He really has like the crowd momentum behind him. And once again, just like Joe Hendry last year, it feels organic. It feels like Mike is earning it as he's doing it. Like the crowd's just behind him. You hear the Santana chants. Not everybody gets over like that, and he does. And once again, that's a guy with history in the company. It's great to see that, and see kind of where he was, what he went through, what he's coming back from, and where he's gotten to now on the card. Because Josh, obviously, he was the face of the company for a couple of years. So once they made this I Quit stipulation, very interesting, because obviously Josh is not known for that at all, and you couldn't imagine Santana saying I quit. And I'll tell you who really did their work this match. Daniel Spencer, friend of the show. Who knows? after a big show like this, we normally see him on a Thursday. I don't know if he's watching tonight. If he is, he's always welcome to chime in. But always asking, "Do you quit? Do you quit?" So yeah, we heard a lot of Daniel on the mic tonight. But once again, like this one, they went after it, man. They were going back and forth, really laying into each other. Like you saw the tables, which always the crowd loves the "We Want the Table" chant, and Santana was happy to accommodate them. But then he wound up going through that table. But then obviously Josh got a table later through in the ring, and then he was able to use that one on Josh, helping him later on in the match. But it took a while. It took him where he had to pretty much get Josh's hands high behind his back and then threaten him with the curb stomp because he had put the ring steps, half the ring steps into the ring and pretty much put him right up against a curb stomp. And he said, I quit finally. So Josh Alexander did say, I quit. And then after the match, he said, hey, you were going to face me like a man if you lost. And he did. He told me he was the standard, which was the passing of the torch. And then what does Josh say to end it? I also quit TNA. So I don't think. Now, we'll say, is it going to be more of a storyline these next couple months, or is that the last we saw of Josh? It feels like it might be the last we see of Josh because we knew his deal, that extension was, I think, till February. So it's almost here. But that may have been just a natural way to pretty much end things. But it's just interesting because the Northern Armory was banned, so they weren't there either. So if there isn't kind of a thing with him and them, I don't know if that helps them at all. I'm sure it doesn't. So, well, we'll see what happens going forward. But I think we all kind of were expecting, once again, like with Jordynne, Josh finishing up here. But once again, a guy that did a ton here. I know he's been heel lately, but obviously he was a big part of the company for a number of the years and did a great job. So if that is the end, it was a hell of a run. No doubt about it. Oh, is that Mary? And that's the thing I got to see what we're putting out there. Santino will address the situation Thursday. We got to definitely be paying attention to what Santino says because there's going to be a lot going down on Thursday, and we'll get to some. We know one match, and we find it out after this next contest, and that is the World Tag Team Championship match with the Hardys, the champs, facing the Rascals. And who comes out after we meet our first two teams? The NXT Tag Team Champions, Fraxium, which is Nathan Frazier and Axiom, who pull up chairs right next to me to watch the match. As they say, the best seats in the house. So obviously, a lot going into this that the Rascals pretty much growing up, getting into wrestling, huge Hardy fans. Like this is a dream match for them. So it's great to see when these things happen. But obviously the Hardys are on a roll right now. They're definitely going to be holding those titles for a bit, I think. Maybe I got to imagine at least through Slammiversary, but we'll see. But the Rascals gave them a good match here. Obviously, because where they were is usually where you get a lot of the outside moves because you got the space there in front of the ring with the aisle. So both teams wind up first. The Hardys kind of almost hit them, but like Matt's like, oh, that was an accident. Like he didn't mean to, but then the Rascals go through and really go into the NXT champs, which they're not happy with. Security has to get involved. They head in the back. Now, did that shift the momentum to the Hardys more? Probably. But they capitalize. They wind up taking care of business. Jeff with the Swanton for the win. remaining champs. But right after the match, we get the announcement that it will be the Rascals facing Fraxium this Thursday on the live episode of Impact. So definitely something to look forward to, getting the return of obviously the NXT talent and, hey, the tag team champion. So like not messing around here, because we know before sometimes it's been like more on the other side, some of those title matches. But we'll see him here this Thursday. So that's a nice little thing to get the show started for sure. We go now. Obviously, we get the setup, so we get they show the video package of Masha and Rosemary. Really kind of going into Rosemary. Obviously, it's been 7 years since she's been Knockouts champion, and Masha kind of good. Really, probably maybe not the best to anger her going into a match like this, the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, but we get all the fun that entails set up, and for knockouts titles on the line for this one, and didn't take long. Obviously, we had a lot of different. Probably the staple gun got the biggest crowd reaction. Everyone likes a good staple gun spot, but yeah, they were using pretty much like everything in there. Trying to think if there was anything. Well, at one point they actually went up on the stage, and you said, "Hey, we got a Janice with Rosemary. One under the ring got Janice." So you definitely have the Decay with Abyss connection there, which was good to see. For a second, I'm like, "Do we see Abyss? Are we going to see Abyss?" But no, but sadly, no Abyss tonight. But I thought Rosemary looked pretty darn good in this match. Like her style, Masha style, I think it went pretty well together. It didn't feel like it felt like it had a really good pace to it. Good back and forth. Like the crowd was eating it up, wanting more and more violence. But in the end, it was obviously. Oh, and there was one spot where Masha went. Well, she went out onto the tables, and like there were 2 tables set up, and she hit that first table because they were pretty far out there. But she hit the first. I'm like, oh, hopefully she didn't catch her head, which luckily it doesn't seem like she did. So, but yeah, definitely some wild spots in that match. But I thought they both did a great job. Masha gets the win here. But then we do get another presence from NXT as Cora Jade shows up, and does a face off in the ring with the TNA title shown. So I didn't hear anything yet on what that could lead to. If that's going to lead to an NXT show, one of their premium live events, build up towards a future like Rebellion. Could it be that far out? Not sure. But once again, you're seeing more and more of that NXT presence being felt. Santino, we get the Santino appearance with Mean Gia Miller coming out, Tommy Dreamer, Dave LaGreca, and Mark Henry for predicting the main event. But they get interrupted by Nick Nemeth's brother, Ryan Nemeth. And he's just, I'll tell you, like he should stay like this, the heel. That's Ryan Nemeth. He's very good at being an annoying brother. So Santino bans him from ringside, gets security out there. Poor Tommy Dreamer never gets to make his prediction. But it's main event. Now, hey, when it's a solo show by myself here, you're going to get a pretty quick show. So we're already at the main event. But hey, feel free if we're getting into the main event here. Let me know. And once again, hey, any questions, any specific comments about the Genesis show tonight? What do you want to see coming out of it going forward? I'll try to hit some of those before we end. But let's get into the main event, because this is the match everyone was waiting for. Nick Nemeth defending against Joe Hendry. And this is one where you definitely knew something was going to happen, but what it was, who was going to get involved, that was to be determined. But you definitely got some shenanigans with Ryan Nemeth deciding to to join the crowd not far from me. And then so he's got his ticket, so he's sitting there. And then obviously during the match, well, first you see Joe hit his finisher, and it felt like, oh, is that going to be it? But then you get a kick out of it too. So that doesn't happen there. But then you get Frankie Kazarian looking to cash in as the match was getting deep. And who gets involved? JBL takes out Kaz. Now, hey, I got to applaud JBL there. That's what we all wanted to see. So great to see that. Then Ryan Nemeth tries to get involved. And, of course, he punches him. And I'll tell you, he takes a punch like a champ, Ryan Nemeth. He went down like a sack of potatoes. So they were not able to affect the outcome of this match, like we did see back at Bound for Glory, where that did change the course of events. And obviously Nick kept the title last time because of it. But this time, obviously the crowd way behind Joe Hendry here. He hits his finisher one more time, and he gets the win. And we got a new world champion, Joe Hendry. The question is, do you believe? Because I think I believe. I think a lot of you here believe. And now it's time. And now this is the test, because I know a lot of us were like, oh, at Bound for Glory, he was going to win. He did not win. Do you lose the steam? But now with the partnership with NXT and WWE and maybe the Royal Rumble around the corner, is that steam even better now than it was before? So I think you can look at it both ways. But I think obviously they had to give it to him here. Like, he had to win this time around, no doubt. And now let's see what he does with it. I think he's going to be an ambassador for sure. I think you'll see him obviously doing a lot to carry the TNA brand, but I think you're going to see him obviously doing a lot, probably in NXT as well. So I think there's a reason this got delayed, probably until this was re-announced and went all in. And I'm looking forward to it. Overall, Genesis, I'm with a lot of the people here. I give it a pretty high rating. There really wasn't a bad match. There were definitely some standout matches for sure, some standout moments. I don't think anything there was like a surprise to make you go too crazy. Once again, it was very nice to see, and I thought Mackenzie did a great job, Mackenzie Mitchell, on the ring announcing tonight. I thought they did a little spotlight, and it kind of threw me for a loop for the main event. They did a spotlight on her and kind of did like music for the main event. So I don't know if that's something going forward or not. I'm going to pay attention to that. But I thought that added like a big match feel. So kudos to that. Without being like too over the top. So once again, I'm very happy with that. But no, I thought everyone killed it tonight. The crowd, huge crowd. I didn't see that many empty seats there. I don't know what it's going to come out capacity wise, but it looked every bit of like 3,000 plus. So yeah. Not a good friend of the show, John Palmer here. Like the music for the main event. I did too. Like it threw me off. I thought we were going to get like a Joe Hendry remix for a second, but then it was just for the main event. Which once again, anything you can do to add to that experience, like the lighting, stuff with the stage and stuff like that, the dressing. I think the relationship with WWE and all is probably going to even help improve that. But I think they've been doing a good job themselves of improving that over the last year or so. But no, that's pretty much the show. That's Genesis 2025, the return of Genesis. Meet anyone who didn't appear on the show? I don't think so. I don't think so. Trying to remember if anybody was. Yeah, because I got to imagine for the most part, just everybody that was going to be working the show showed up. And then obviously most of the same people plus the additional roster members will be there for San Antonio on Thursday. So quick turnaround Thursday, because obviously, hey, if you're invested now in these story angles, you almost got to watch every night because you have obviously you have Genesis tonight. You have someone could show up on Monday Night Raw. Someone could show up on NXT on Tuesday. Then you have obviously the live show on Thursday. So a lot to look forward to over this week. And TNA could be in the news almost any day this week. So a lot to definitely pay attention to, look forward to as we get ready for the first live Impact in a number of years coming up on Thursday. But no, that was Genesis. I thank everybody for staying up late because I know, especially I'm a normal East Coaster, but on Central Time right now. But it was so I know it's pretty late over there. But got back as quick as I could and wanted to make sure to get an instant reaction up to all the TNI family out there, the TNA fans, and we always thank you for your support. If you didn't see us live and are watching this on a replay, feel free to put comments down below. Let us know what your thoughts were. Match of the night, who impressed you, what you'd like to see going forward. And if you haven't, definitely look down at the link at the Discord. Feel free to join us there because people are always having conversation going there. If you just want to talk and beyond TNA, if you want to talk about obviously with the NXT, WWE, but even outside of that, indies, whatever promotion, food topics, movies, whatever. You can talk about anything there. So definitely join us there. Hopefully, obviously, as we get more down in the week, J-Bone, Alisha, others will opinion. Sorry, we couldn't line it up to do it tonight, but I get it was a difficult time frame for everybody. But great seeing a lot of familiar names in the chat tonight for you all sticking with us. And we'll be seeing you real soon. So thanks, everybody. I will be back on Thursday after live show. I might be joining it in progress depending who's around on Thursday because I don't know how quick I'll be getting out of there. But until then, take care of yourself, and then we will see you later. All right. Have a good night, everybody.